Welcome to Light It Up, a podcast about resilient women balancing motherhood, their careers, personal lives, and all of the challenges that come along with being a superwoman. Each week, you'll be motivated to take action to lead, inspire, transform, and empower. Now, here's your host, Dr. Aginah Musherah. Welcome to another episode of Light It Up. I am your host, Dr. Aginah Musherah, and I am so excited about today's episode because I have just this amazing woman on the show. And not that all of my guests aren't great, but I was telling her that she is actually what this show was created for, what I had in mind. But my guest today is someone I've known for 25 years, I think, maybe longer.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah. So Miss Carisa Parker, who is,
We're in the 30-somethings. We met when you were, I'm not going to tell our age, but it's almost 30 years.
Oh,
do some math.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay, we can't let the math teachers know that I can't add and subtract. But Carisa Parker, who I've been knowing for probably well over 30 years, you're absolutely right. Carisa is my guest today. She is the proud mom of 4 amazing children, 2 of whom are adults, right? And they are all graduates or either currently attending our alma mater, Morgan Park High School. Carisa is the Patient Advocacy and Language Services Coordinator at Advocate Trinity Hospital. And she also serves as the chairperson for the local school council at Morgan Park High School, which incidentally is her alma mater. She's been serving in that role for the last 8 years. And Carisa just has an overall passion for community engagement. She's a servant leader. She does everything. Like, she's the epitome of like community servant.
Or the kids say you do too much.
She's just a proud mom of a Chicago police officer, and she helped to found an organization, the Moms of CPD, which is a group of Black mothers of Chicago police officers whose mission is to create opportunities for police officers to participate in community service with the residents in which they serve. She also helped to form the Heart of 21, which is the 21st Ward Neighbor Collaborative. And she is also a part of a group of friends who formed Wonderful Woman Wednesday, which is a great organization. So I definitely want us to talk about that. And they host quarterly parties and events on Wednesdays where guests bring donations to benefit local nonprofits that are run by Black women. So welcome to Light It Up, Carisa.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a long time coming, so I'm so excited about it.
I know. And just full transparency, like the reason why I said that you are who I had in mind when I created this podcast is because we have commonality in that we're both single moms, more than one child, and and we're professional women. And then we're also involved. And I know you, like when I think about education, Carisa Parker's picture is like on the billboard for Chicago. And so I know we share similar experiences in terms of trying to balance it all. And I think for the most part, we probably make it look easy to a lot of people. But it's really not. It's really not. So I wanted to have you on today because just kind of, chit chat about how you do it all. What made you decide to be, I guess, so involved within your community? Number one, because, so many of us can find plenty of other things to do with our time. But I know for you, when I look at you and when I see all of the things that you're involved in, it's about empowering young girls, women, your fellow sisters, and then again, the passion for education. So just kind of talk to us about how you got started what made you decide to even join the local school council and just get involved in that way?
Yeah, so I would say that a lot of the work that I have done in the community has actually been a byproduct of my involvement with the local school council at Morgan Park High School. So I think my son was in eighth grade at the time, and I went to a local school council meeting, and I was engaging with the council. I actually knew a couple of people on the council. They were talking about some ideas and I was jumping in. And then they said, you know what, we have a vacancy. She would be great. And so they asked me to complete a form and we did kind of like an interview. And the rest, so to speak, is history. But it was easy for me to do because it involved one of my kids. So it was just Christopher at the time. But and it was easy to do also because it was my alma mater. And I think it was just, meant for me to be there. I just look back over the years and see some of the things that we've accomplished, some of the challenges that we've had. But it's allowed me to meet so many different people in Chicago. It's helped me to pull back fellow Mustangs and really just, I guess God is just working through me. Is sometimes how I can say. I'm not sure how all of this stuff happened, but it has happened, and I'm glad to be a part of all of it. So, but again, when people ask me, how do you get involved? How did you do this? I think if you pick something that you love and something that you care about, you will find a way to advocate for it. It makes it easy.
I absolutely agree with you on that because I know I was sharing with someone the other day as far as my involvement in education. I mean, I've always worked in the field of education. I used to work for Chicago Public Schools. Now I'm in higher ed. But there was, I don't know, I just always had this passion about education. And so, of course, when you have children, you've got a vested interest. What, as someone who has been involved and is currently involved in your children's education, which has branched out to just being able to help other youth, what do you think it will take to get more parents involved? Because, oftentimes, I don't know what it looks like at your LSC meetings. I mean, now it's different because we've got dealing with COVID. But when you have the meetings or when there are like this in the suburbs, it's a school board meeting, what have you. And very rarely do you see parents in those meetings. What do you think it will take to get parents to kind of be involved from that standpoint?
Yeah. So as much as COVID has prohibited so many things, we have really seen an increase in our participation at our LSC meetings because of COVID, which I am super excited about because one of the things that I have really wanted to do is to really push parents to be engaged in their children's education. What I think happens, especially at the high school level, is that parents are like, oh, my kids are older now. They don't need me up there at the school. They're big. No, high school is really when you need to dig in and be involved. And even though it's for your children, it ends up being for thousands of others, which makes your work even more bigger than you and your own family. But we have, I think because technology has made it easy for parents to log in, we have been sending emails and texts the day of, and parents are really logging in. And so the local school council isn't the most exciting meeting to join because we are talking about things like budget and continuous improvement work plans, but we do have a principal's report every month, which gives folks updates on what's happening in the school, what big purchases we're going to make. Construction, we're excited to have some construction finally that we've been advocating for years. So it's good to see that. But COVID actually has been a blessing for that. And I think we are really going to be challenged after COVID to help keep up that momentum. And so I think that, a technological platform or a technology platform will probably, help us keep that momentum going. And then getting parents to join groups like our PAC, which actually gets to do more fun things and have trainings for parents, which I'm super excited to see how that works out too.
Yeah, I think you're definitely spot on with the technology and parents, because it's easier now. You don't have to worry about trying to travel after you get off work. Then, you
Yeah,
trying
it's
to go
just
to a
one more
meeting.
thing to do. And because it's
Mhm.
not an exciting meeting,
Yeah.
if you come once, you're like, oh, they talking about a budget or this and that. It's like really not that fun to come to. You're not really, you know, it's not fun. And so when you've worked 8 hours and traveled 2 hours, you're trying to go home. So this way parents can log in and get the information, and we log in at 6, and by 6:30 we can say goodnight and give folks their evening back.
hmm And now I will say for not necessarily for selfish reasons, because that's not true, but I'm just going to say I know that when you are involved, um, and especially when teachers see that you're an involved parent,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times your child will gain access to opportunities that they may not have otherwise gained access to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's why now I know I definitely try to push my friends, like, come to this meeting, or join this particular group, because you can hear about information firsthand.
Yep.
So that's one thing, if you just strictly want to focus on your child, but then you can also share that information with other people as well, because there are definitely plenty of opportunities, different programs, scholarship opportunities, what have you.
Yeah. And then when you think too about that, definitely for sure, there are opportunities that you hear about. But when parents realize that collectively our voices are so much stronger, then so we've got 6 parent members on our local school council. And so, like I mentioned about some of the construction and upgrades that we're getting at Morgan Park, I've actually been advocating for those for the past 10 years. And so it is really a labor of love, and you have to have patience. Your heart has to be in the right place.
Mhm.
Um, and so, my mission became not only to make sure that my children, had a great experience and all of the resources that they deserve, but really making sure that we were planting seeds so that future students could come to Morgan Park and be successful. Um, but other schools have gotten things much more quickly than 10 years. And that's because their parents have come together and been this collective voice, and they've had 60 or 600 parents, and not just 6 parents saying, we need a new field, we need new science labs and things like that. And so as we, look of ways to engage parents, I really, every time we have a local school council now, push, hey, this is why we need parents to be involved. You know what's going on. And so then that way we're building this village.
Yeah.
So that when it comes time to advocate for these things, they can say, hey, you know what, we knew about that, and we were given the tools to do so.
So how does it make you feel? I mean, Morgan Park is your alma mater. I won't say when you graduated, but you graduated a year before me, so we're in
Right,
the
right,
same
right. Yeah.
age group. How
Yeah.
does it make you feel, though, to not only have your children as, alums of Morgan Park, but also to have come back to the high school where you grew up? You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
it's been interesting because a lot of people in the Morgan Park and Beverly community, and even a lot of our own fellow alum, have not sent their kids to Morgan Park because people talk so much about, oh, it's not the way it used to be.
Mhm.
But there was never a time that I dropped my kids off, and felt that they weren't safe and that they weren't loved and that I couldn't reach out to them. And I'm not sure that everyone has had that experience at wherever they've sent their children to. Certainly, we have to pick what's the best fit for our students. But because I made that commitment to send my children there, it was even more important for me to help position Morgan Park to be in a place where, hey, I know these students. I know they're bright. I know they're destined for greatness. We've got to let them shine. And we've really been blessed to have recently hired, this is her 3rd full year, Dr. Skanes,
Yeah.
really positioned our school to have an administrative team that feels the same way that I do about those students in that building, and are doing whatever they can to make sure that they are successful, that we have a safe environment there, and that we are creating opportunities and rebuilding our brand, so to speak. And really telling our story instead of letting, media outlets or negative, things that have been out there tell our story, because we know, teens will be teens, and some of the things that have happened at Morgan Park are happening in other places. But, we were not telling our story, and we're highlighting what we needed to. So I really am glad to see the fruits of my labor.
Yeah, that's awesome. And great selection on the principal. So I know Dr. Scaines, well, our fathers were good friends.
Definitely.
But our children actually attended, I think maybe her child might have been in first grade when mine were kindergarten, but they were at the same school. So I knew her from the parental piece, and she was a firecracker. She was my kind of parent.
Yes.
So I know when you have somebody who is really, when they have their own children who are, either involved in the same, school or what have you, that they have a vested interest. But I also know she's able to wear different hats. So she could see from an administrative perspective, then as a teacher, and then as a parent. And I think and not to say that, individuals who haven't had that experience can't be a great leader, but I think it's a different type of leadership because they can see it from different perspectives.
Yeah, and she is a teacher at heart, and so you can just see that in every decision that she makes, that it comes from a place of love, it comes from a place of learning, but also believes in setting expectations for both the students and the staff, which is amazing. She is such a great resource. And I'm just happy to have her there. I've learned so much from her, and I'm thankful for her being there. And, so one of the things when I talk about, why local school council is so important is that, Morgan Park went through several principal selections. And so at one point, to the detriment of our school, perhaps, because we went without a principal for almost 2 years. And we were the bane of existence for CPS, and they were so sick of us. But our search became larger than Morgan Park. We were dissatisfied with the quality of applicants that were there. And so, we started thinking like, hey, we've got a pretty high functioning local school council. What about schools who don't have as much insider information, who may just be impressed by surface qualities? Why are these the people that you're presenting to our schools? And so we have been told, and by the Office of Local School Council Relations, that lots of their changes in their principal selection process has changed, even to the extent of providing resources to principals. We took a stack of resumes down to one of the board meetings that were filled with red corrections on it, misspelling, grammar. You are a principal. You all didn't have anybody to look over these before they submitted them to us and said, hey, we need to fix this sentence. Come on, everybody's not the best speller. We're all not the greatest writers. If this is the best of your best, then you all have to continue to help them succeed. And so some of the programs that we've seen for them, I'm going to take credit for, well, not personally, but our local school council, we really push for that. And so, it's just been it's been a ride, but I've learned so much. And again, I keep saying I'm grateful for it because it's not anything I did. I've been put there, and I feel like it's mutually beneficial because I've learned a lot and I've been able to share that knowledge with others.
So now let's kind of transition to all of these other organizations that you're involved in. I'm still curious where you find the time.
Sometimes I don't. And then when I do interviews or podcasts, I'm like, dang it, I forgot to do something.
So so your son is a police officer, and you and some other moms established an organization. Why was that important for you to do?
So when Christopher was in the police academy, 2 young officers died in the line of duty. And so I remember just sobbing at that, and Christopher had to work the funeral of one of the officers. So we had a police officer at Morgan Park who was working with us on some programming, and we were talking about it. And I was, saying, I'm like, it's really difficult sometimes thinking about this career path that my son has chosen when you start thinking about the risks and reality of it all. And so, just talking to other moms just about that constant feeling weight that you have on you, especially when they're at work. And he said, you know what? He's like, when I go to work, I think about my wife and kids. He said, I don't really think about how my mother feels. He is like, that is such a unique perspective. And we just kept talking about it. And I'm like, so I said something about, how do mothers, that mother's love, how does that connect people? We may not have everything in common in terms of our demographics, but that love of a mother is something that connects people. And it's also a bond that you can kind of say, hey, you are my child, still, even with that police uniform. And when you put that star on, a piece of us does. So when they go out and serve every day, I definitely feel proud and feel like I have given a big piece of me to the city of Chicago. So he and I talked about it, for a few weeks and emailed. And one day he said, you know what, I think you should write a proposal and send it to me so we can get it over to be a recognized police group. And so I did it, I sent it to him, and a few weeks later I got an email saying that we have been designated as a recognized group by the Chicago Police Department. And so then it's like, what do I do from here? So I happen to know some other moms who would be interested in maybe like two, okay? Trinity United Church of Christ, something told me to email them and ask them to put something in their bulletin, and we got 2 more moms that way. And we're really able to form a strong group where we've had vision meetings of what this will look like. And of course, then COVID happened. So we still have a lot of plans. So many of them have been transitioned to 2021, but we did do our articles of incorporation this year. All Black board, all of whom are either mothers of police officers or who are police officers themselves. So I'm super excited to see where this goes. We've done a few events, but not quite a lot. Another reason why we did this is because I'm friends with lots of police officers, and when those holidays come around for police officers, I'm like, oh, what you guys get for police officer day? And they're like, nothing.
I didn't even know there was a police officer's day.
Oh yes, they have so many days. And so, can you imagine going out working every day, risking your life, and you don't get a cookie? So so it became important for us to make sure that they knew that they were celebrated, and doing that in a way that they knew that mothers, still loved, appreciated, we're praying for them, that kind of thing. So I'm excited to see where this will go and grow.
And and the thought that came to my mind was, I would love, this is me putting my 2 cents in. Look, but I think, because I was just thinking about, like, even with them, doing some community service, projects or what have you, but I'm just thinking about the young Black men who don't have, who haven't had opportunities to have a positive interaction with the police officer, whether it's an interaction at all or just, you know what I mean? Because when I think about my son, we all have had to have the talk,
Yeah,
and
I had to have it. So yeah.
Right, exactly. And
still have it.
Right. And I think about, what if I could introduce him. And as I'm thinking about it, I don't really know any police officers out here, like, but and even my son has said to me, like, when I say, well, I don't know if I want you to do X, Y, Z, or you got to be careful, or you make sure that if you come in and, contact with a police officer, You don't talk to them a certain way, you know, what have you. And I will tell my children all day long that they are suburbanized and would not be able you know, live
I
in the
get it.
state because they've been in the suburbs since they were 5. But even their perception, what they see on the
Oh
news,
yeah.
they're like, well, that doesn't happen out here. That, and I'm like, no, it can happen anywhere. So I would like to see, it's just like when I worked for the sheriff's department, that was my first job. I worked in youth services, and we used to put together this police and children together camp where, you know, the youth would work with police officers during the summer so that they could see them in a positive light. Like, I would love to have my son come, you know, side by side and volunteer with a police officer, be able to talk to them, ask questions, what have you, just so that they have a positive interaction first, you know.
Yes. And so one of my friends, Marvin, he's actually a police officer. He has a mentor group called Mentor Teacher Brother. And so we have partnered with him and had some events where police officers come and talk to them about how do you, you know, rebuild trust and things like that. But we've also talked about, it's nice to have that conversation, but we like it to happen in a natural setting. So, you know, basketball games, you know, playing the video games together. So this way, you know, I'm not just talking to you about the law and about police, but you're getting to see me as a person. And I'm saying you as a person. And it's also reminding officers, hey, these are people, and remembering that the community that you serve are people, you know, no matter how different they look, you know, or sometimes they look the same, you know, and they still get mistreated by people who look like them. But also, I really feel like parenting is hard. And so we've talked too about how do the moms, so, you know, the moms interact with the mothers of the children who are in these groups too, you know, so that we can just find a common ground there. So now, you know, you know what, he's got a mom just like I have a mom who loves him, and vice versa. And really getting a conversation and a dialogue going. You know, I don't know how big this will ever be, but even if it helped 20 people, you know, in my lifetime, you know, I tell my kids, you know, you are put, you know, your life is not your own. You know, you have an obligation and a responsibility to leave this world a little bit better than you found it, even if it's in your own little, you know, corner of the world. And so I just feel like this is just one way that, you know, I hope and pray to make a difference in my little corner of the world here in Chicago.
You know what just popped in my mind as you were talking? And I don't know, why can't I think of, who was our principal? The Black guy.
We had
Mr.
Alexander.
Yes, Mr. Alexander. Yes. And I just remember, so at our graduation, the topic was the dash. And that's what this just reminds me of. You know, when you look at your life and you think about what did you do with the time that you were given? It's the dash. What did you do, you know, in the dash? And so there's not going to be any question, you know, about, you know, but you're making an impact. And like you said, whether it's 20 or whether it's 2000, you're touching the lives of other people. And that's what I think is so important, to be able to be of service to others and make an impact.
Yeah, and hopefully set an example for my kids too. You know, when you're a teenager in your early 20s, you're really not thinking about, you know, saving the world, so to speak. But I just know that, and I wasn't in my 20s either, you know, so I think it's just, you know, as you become a parent and you learn and you grow, some of your goals and hopes that you want to do in life change. So that's one of the things that I hope that my kids see and do the same when they are young parents.
Yeah, well, they will. Like, people keep telling me, like, don't worry, they'll, you know, it may not seem that way now.
Oh
because
yeah.
Right now it's like, really? You doing what?
Listen. Listen, I'm like, yeah. So yeah, parenting is a job. It is a job with its ups and downs. And for sure.
And then with Wonderful Woman Wednesday.
Yes.
What made you decide to collaborate with some of your friends to start?
Oh my gosh, something else that just happened by accident, girl. So I frequent a lovely establishment that sells alcoholic beverages. on the south side. And I knew that this particular place was struggling a little bit financially. So I was like, you know what, let me throw a party up here, like in the middle of the week when they don't have any business. And then I don't know how it meshed together that we were like, oh, we started networking. Okay, we'll do something for women. They can bring their cards and they can do this. And maybe, we'll have a box. I don't know how it all came together, to be honest, but everybody seemed so excited by it. And so I was like, let me know when you do it again. And so 3 particular friends really, all Mustangs, loved it. And so they have been my right hand as we've grown and selected organizations and really had that takeoff last year and the year before. And it slowed us down a little bit, but we're trying to think what we're going to do before the year ends. But one of the things that we know is that everybody's busy. People want to do good. People don't always know what to do. And so sometimes you got to nudge your friends and family a little bit and say, hey, and that's what we've seen. So we've had an event where my mother worked for the Crisis Center of South Suburbia. They were having a shortage of hair products for African-American women. Come out to the bar, have some drinks in the middle of your crazy, hectic week, and bring some hair products. We had hair salons that heard about the event on Facebook and bring that. And our friends and family, of course, always showed up, and we had so many products. And again, it's just like that domino effect or that snowball effect. Hey, I went and took these. How can I help next time? And now people are thinking more about what they can do. And so it's just building that culture of giving back, which has also been a blessing to see.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can hurry up and get out of this COVID nonsense.
I know, we're trying to think of something before it gets too cold where people come and drop off something at the park and keep going. So we're working on it. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Yeah.
So in the midst of all of this, so here's the, I'm going to assume that you're still single.
Yes.
So how do you even have, so I've been divorced for 7 years. It'll be 7 years in a couple of months. And I've dated, had a long-term relationship. And now I'm like, I don't even know if dating is hard.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Yeah, so I've had to change my perspective about dating. And now my philosophy is it's got to be easy and it's got to happen naturally. So I'm not forcing anything. If I go out on one date with you and I'm not feeling it, I'm not going to do it anymore just for the sake of having somebody to date. And I'm busy enough where dating doesn't consume. We all, of course, I love, we talked earlier about having somebody to travel with and experience, new restaurants or just, whatever it is.
Right.
And so, of course, and as my kids get older, I think about what that's going to look like. But I know that in some relationships, I've either forced or stayed in situations because it was comfortable, not because it was what I needed. And then sometimes they just become, convenience, and so, and I've had to realize too, I'm not everybody's cup of tea.
Because you're a Gemini.
Stop dating and stop calling. Well, hey, I wasn't the one for them either. Because I've dated some nice guys that I'm just like, wasn't for me. So I had to humble myself a little bit too. But I'm not gonna force anything. It's gotta be that, and it takes the pressure off. It takes the pressure off them. It takes the pressure off me. And if I see something I don't like, I don't deal with it. I don't have to. I've got great friends, great family. My calendar stays filled, and I think a lot of guys are intimidated by that or don't believe I'm that busy. But I will make time for the right person, just like I think most people will do. So I'm not forcing it. It's got to be easy.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that relationships are easy. I know at some point they do that, but there's got to be something there, some kind of connection worth working on.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if your children have tried to encourage you to date,
Mm.
but mine have. My
Okay.
daughters in particular.
Okay.
I think my son is like, could, you know.
Don't care. Yeah, boys don't care. They stay
No.
out of that. They don't
Right.
even think about it.
Right. And my I remember Aaliyah, that's the one who seems to give me advice. She was
Mhm.
like, you need to date. Why don't you get
What? Why? What she say?
well,
Is
she
she worried
said
about you?
she she said that I needed to date because I needed to just have somebody to go out to dinner with or travel with or do something because you're just always at home. So see, she has ulterior motives.
You in her business.
I'm
Get
in
out of her
her
business.
business because I don't have my own business.
I know. Listen, guilty.
And so when I do go out, and it's like, okay, so are you all like, is that your boyfriend? I'm like,
Yeah.
no, we're just friends. And she's like,
Yeah.
what? I don't understand. But I've
Yeah.
been told, that I have some high standards. I just don't waste my time,
Right. Exactly.
you know.
Yeah, yeah. One gentleman told me, he said at some point people realize I have more days behind me than I have ahead of me. So
Mhm.
I'm not gonna waste my time. It's
Right.
nothing but good from here on out, you know. So yeah. So yeah, it's about the time. But
Yeah.
girls are funny. Yeah, my
Yeah.
girls some days will be like, you need to get a boyfriend. And then some days they're like, well, you need to wait until we're grown. And I'm like, oh, depends on what they need or want at
Right.
the time.
And
But
see,
they
and that's what I think about, that my whole world has been wrapped up around these children.
yeah.
Kamal and Leah they've got one more year of high school and
Yeah.
then they're going to be gone. Then I'll have this eighth grader who swears up and down that she should be on the same level as the 16-year-olds,
Yeah.
apparently.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then when she leaves, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So I think that's what I'm kind of, focused on. But I have also stayed in relationships a lot longer than I should have because it was
Mhm.
comfortable.
Yeah.
And I had someone to ask me, it was a friend of mine who was asking me about the status of somebody that I was just going out with, that I said, as a friend. And she said, well, do you feel like you need to have a title? If you all talk, you all enjoy each other's company and you go out, then I mean, at your age, like, do you need to say you have a boyfriend?
Boyfriend that's
Like,
50.
yeah, right. And I was like, I guess you got a point. But I do think that sometimes
Mhm.
you can get kind of caught up in appearances or what maybe other people are
Yeah.
displaying and that sort of thing,
Mhm.
and it can get lonely sometimes too
Yeah. Yeah.
if you don't have somebody who's consistent.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. 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 So I try. So because I'm busy, I don't have time to kind of like juggle, you know what I mean? And so when you are busy and you do have kids, it's kind of hard to be out here like, well, Tuesday, I'm going to have dinner with this one and I'm going to have coffee on Saturday. So we really don't have, I know I don't have the time to do that. And I also don't want to be bothered with that many people either, one person lying to me is enough. No, I'm just kidding. But
you're right.
I'm
I
kidding.
Yeah, I know I don't
But
have.
so I think it is hard for single women today because we don't have that luxury. We take a little bit longer trying to get to know people, and hoping they to extend that same grace to us. I know one guy I was dating for several years off and on. He was also just as busy, always, involved in his kids' school and sports and, worked quite a bit. And so, sometimes it worked because, there wasn't that pressure, to make time. It was kind of like when we could, but there was also not enough time to plan things that were just hours, that was, creating and building memories. It was just, when can I fit you in? Not you're a priority for me to plan, things with. And so that was the difficulty in that situation. So
Yeah.
so it is difficult, but I really believe that, what's for me is mine. And I just I choose to be happy. So I know that and hope and pray that that energy echoes to somebody someday and it's delivered right back to me. Because trust me, there have been times I've just been like, that's it, I'm not doing it anymore. But who am I to say that? Who knows who I meet, tomorrow at the gas station? So
Right.
just open for it.
Well, I know I had developed this. I think I've always had a checklist, and then I started throwing certain things out out and taking it off the checklist. But I do have a checklist that I will not budge on. I will say, as someone who has children,
Yeah.
I have to date somebody who also has children,
Yeah.
whether they're adults or teenagers or what have you, because I have found when I've tried to date men who don't have children,
Yeah.
they don't understand.
No, they don't get it. So yeah, that's on my checklist too. I don't do it. I can't do it.
And then
But we talk about our kids so much. Who wants to hear about that? And they don't have, and I'm not saying that they don't, but it's just, that level of understanding. It just is here.
Yeah, because I had one person to tell me because I had certain weekends, I do my hashtag like Teen Free Weekend. I mean, it's one of them. But so I was saying, well, on these weekends I'm available.
Right.
On other weekends I'm not. And I remember he told me, well, you'll make it very easy for a man to cheat on you. I was like, what? But here's the thing. I'm not going out of my way for somebody that I don't know. You know what I mean? That, you haven't even put in any time or effort to make sure that I can make arrangements when I have my children this particular weekend.
Yeah.
So crossed him off the list very quickly. But I've also decided that my preference is to also date someone who has been married before, because that's a whole, people who, because I'm divorced, like I feel like if I'm gonna date somebody, I need to date someone who's been married before, because maybe they don't want to get married and I won't have to feel that pressure of going that road.
Yeah, but they've also got lessons learned too.
Exactly. So it's hard. So look, if anybody's listening, any men listening,
I don't date men that live in Indiana. I know that is so shallow, girl, but I can. Some things you just learn by experience. Don't ask.
You know what?
I don't like to travel. I don't want to travel that far. There's other things about that. No, I'm joking. Some of this is for my stand-up comedy.
Well, I was getting ready to say I did date somebody I went out 2 times with somebody from Indiana and haven't gone out ever again. Yeah. So anyway, well, it looks like, well, I'm sure that, whoever is meant for us.
Oh yeah.
Not worried about that. But I often wonder, how other women who are single with children, like, how do they
listen? Me and my friends who are single laugh about it all the time, sometimes to keep from crying, and some have it worse than I've seen some people have. But it just depends on your level of wanting to be in a relationship. I have gotten to the place where it's not my number one priority. And so I do have some girlfriends who really want to be in a relationship. And so when they meet somebody they like, they give their all and they keep on pushing, to make something work. What is it? A square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
And I'm here for them, to talk about it. But I have just stopped doing that. So it just, there's just stages, and it just depends on where you are in that dating and where your mindset is in terms of that. So, and then listen, we're older now. We can see, sense, and smell game when it's coming.
Hello.
And so again, that makes it hard too, because you got to weed through so much nonsense to really find somebody who you can have an intellectual conversation with, have fun with, even get to find out what you have in common, because so many people are quick to jump into something. I'm like, you're not there yet, buddy. Like, did you send flowers to my job yet? You know, you follow me on Facebook. You know what I like.
Yeah.
I'm like, somebody hurt these men too, because they don't know how to date anymore. I swear.
Yeah.
And not all of the guys, but you know.
I think maybe we need to have a panel discussion with some single men, because I need some answers.
Right. Right. 40 and up. What are you doing? Who hurt you too? Because I keep thinking, like, these men have been broken and bruised too, because the way they date now, I'm like, you all aren't the 20-something-year-olds I dated, 20 years ago. You all been hurt too.
Right. And I will say, I feel like it's hard. Well, I know for me I feel like I'm starting over. Like, because I think I was 24 when I got married.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Yeah. I was 24 when I got married, and I must have been like 35 going on 36 when I got a divorce. So didn't know the first thing about, like, that was totally different. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then you've grown so much as a person too. And so now it's not only, figuring out who you are now and what you like, but, just like, this is what is, because it has changed. It has changed.
Yeah. So I don't get it. Like, I can't have a text conversation with you either. Like that.
Yeah, I don't like that.
No.
And I think modern technology has made it easier for men in a sense, because some people make it easy for them to date and not do things. And so I'm just like, I don't.
Well, I'm going to tell you, for my birthday, this guy that I dated in college, and so people who know me from my UIC days will know who I'm talking about. You just couldn't tell me anything. That was the love of my life. And but anyway, but they called me to wish me a happy birthday, and I was very surprised. But they told me that basically they wanted me to know that they appreciated, they couldn't see it back then. Like now, like, they appreciate how I was as a girlfriend, and that essentially I prepared them for their wife. I said, I guess I do a whole lot of preparation, preparing men for their wives. Like, okay, well, you're welcome.
Right. Like, thanks.
Yeah. So, but I feel like, you know what, I'm good. I can certainly, I've got too much stuff going on and too much to do.
Yeah.
And so I'll entertain coffee dates, dinner dates, breakfast.
Yeah.
I can do.
Yeah. Well, we'll know.
Anyway, I just want to make sure that when I'm an empty nester, and when you're an empty nester, we're just not sitting at home twirling our thumbs.
With 3 cats. Some days I look up, I'm like, oh, that's a cute kitten. We start my collection now.
So let me ask you, with everything that you do and all that you have going on, do you have any aspirations to do anything more? Like, is there politics in your future or anything like that? Have you even considered that? Because I just feel like being a community servant, that's just who you are. That's who I know you as.
Yeah. So I have asked that question all of the time. I would be lying if I said I haven't considered it, that I'm not considering it. There's a group of friends that I have who want to really sit down and have a very thoughtful conversation about that in 2021. There is an election coming up in 2023. So yes, I'm considering it. I don't know that I'm 100% sold on the idea, but I do know that there is an opportunity for more.
Okay.
That's for what we are being given. And so I am just moving and working and listening. listening to that voice of God whispering in my ear, and I'm being patient, and we'll see.
All right. Well, I'm going to be watching. So
listen, and if I do, you're going to be one of those people like, help, what have I done? Got myself into, help me, guide me.
I think you would be absolutely awesome. So
well, I'm humbled to hear. It is very humbling to hear that, I've got some girlfriends whose campaigns I've helped, and they've been successful in their elections. And we have really seen women, Black women, really lend their voices to the forefront of our communities. And I'm super proud of those women. I am humbled that people would have that same faith in me that I could do that too. So it's very humbling. So
all right, well,
we'll see.
We'll be hearing some more great things.
I hope so.
But I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule just to chat with me. This was great. I think I needed this. It was like two girls chatting. So
I love that you gotta have me back. I had so much fun, and I know between the two of us, we love to talk. We can come up with some more topics. And then you did throw out there about getting these men on here and asking them, what's the deal?
Yes. Yeah, I think we need to do that ASAP, because it's what season is this that's coming up?
Well, they say it's cuffing season. I'm about to hibernate. I'm gonna try again after February 14th.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. And to those of you who are listening and or viewing, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Light It Up. I hope that you can join me next week on Light It Up. And in the meantime, in between time, don't forget to continue to light it up and shine bright like a diamond. Thanks for joining me this week on Light It Up. Make sure you visit my website at www.lightituppodcast.com or www.aginahmuhammad.com. You can also find me on social media using the handle @LightItUpPodcast. If you like what you've heard, please be sure to hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, I'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or you can simply tell a friend about the show. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday for a new episode. Until next time, light it up and shine bright like a diamond.